Hello, and welcome to Roll on the Adventure, the podcast where we create, destroy, and then create, play, and then take apart role-playing games. Today I have Maggie.
Hey.
Chris.
Hello.
And Nathan.
Ain't flipping off hot today.
It certainly is. And I'm Dave, and with that, the intro.
Roll on the adventure. Roll on the adventure. Roll on the adventure.
Roll on the adventure.
I'm going to start cutting that if you keep doing it.
I will always get the last word. I will fight you on this with words, not actions, because you kick my ass.
I do the edit, though.
We're 30 seconds into this podcast and we're already pulling hierarchy. What a great way to start.
In fairness, it does feel appropriate for the theme of this week's episode.
Very true.
Oh, yes, because we are creating a new game.
Whoa.
Dun, dun, dun.
We had a lot of fun with Frontiers of Time, and at the end of that, we came up with some suggestions of what we'd like to see in the next arc.
Though I do feel like we need some trust falls to re-establish any sort of trust we might have in Nathan after the way he conducted himself.
I was an excellent traitor, and y'all are basic for not catching me.
I mean, yeah, you did a really good job. It was just that the way we'd set it up kind of let you down.
Mm-hmm. It's all good. I think the fact that I was able to pull a ruse despite the odds.
It was fun.
Is
I'm
a
just
fun
saying,
time.
I feel hurt. So hurt.
You'll never trust me again. What can I do to reinstate your love?
I like pizza.
Who must I kill?
Whoever's keeping pizza from me.
Fair on it.
Okay, so does anyone have anything off the list that really catches their eye?
How about you say what's on the list, my friend?
I don't know. I was going to kind of introduce them one at a time, so it's a bit of a surprise. But
Ooh, okay. Ooh, saucy. Well, there's the thing that I established at the end of last session. The only thing I really contributed to the list. Because I'm an ideas man, me, is Dreamer Access. All in caps.
Yeah,
Yes.
It is all in caps.
I mean, it looks like a flippin' JoJo's Bizarre Adventure like ability, so it has to kind of be pronounced in that way. Or
Yeah.
So, Dream Access, are you thinking maybe like Inception?
yes, yeah, that or at least I think that was what was going through my mind when I said it.
I mean, also, like, just dreams as places is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to like summon up someone's dreams, that could be really interesting.
Yeah. I always like in games that have surrealness in them. Dreams is a really interesting way to handle it because a lot of people's dreams are based primarily in real life experiences, is how we construct them, as opposed to like Earthworm Jim style cartoon
Crazy
entirely nonsense.
shenanigans.
There's like no grounding in that, but dreams have some form of a grounding and then get weird.
For me,
Yeah, like one of my weirdest dreams that involved a surgeon, a veterinary surgeon, hammering my skull back into place, started just at a seaside resort, and then got weird.
Okay.
Or another dream which sort of ended with triplets abandoning me on a mountain. Just started with a normal trip to a friend's of my parents' house. So you're right; they sort of have very solid starts and then get weird.
I don't know. I've been to a few birthday parties where the birthday boy is a giant lizard, and all like everyone's handing them boxes of bees, and that's the start. And it's just that's just the baseline of normal.
Just to be clear, are you talking about a dream or is this actually your social life?
Conspiracy theory lizard people confirmed.
No comment.
I don't think you meant to out yourself as a member of the Illuminati
No, the Bee-luminati.
podcast. Get out.
But yeah, I'm not the one I'm not the kind of person who remembers dreams often. The last dream that I had was an anxiety dream about me doing my first Twitch stream, where I needed to intravenously connect the internet to my veins to get it to work. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a sort of altered dream logic. Like having like altered rules would be a really interesting idea.
Yeah, dream rules definitely feel like a thing.
Yeah.
I guess there's a level of trust in making dream rules that aren't garbage, but maybe that's the point.
I mean, maybe like you that's part of the dream access. You kind of pull them out of people and install them into reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could each of us be like some could each player be like someone's sort of genius spirit? Like, yeah, they're sort of almost like their soul.
I thought, oh, it's like, but is this anything like Persona?
We can't keep doing this. This can't keep happening.
If the persona was in charge,
Okay. So it's kind of totemic.
yeah.
So basically, you're playing as totemic bits of someone's personality rather than as someone channeling a totemic bit of their personality.
Yeah.
Is everyone John? Question mark.
I don't know. I think everyone should be different people.
No. I was making a goof, but
oh, my bad.
So here's the thing, though. If we're going with someone's heightened self, would that mean that maybe not mechanically, but role playingly, we should be really exaggerated in how we act? Like not so far we've just been, normal people more or less. Though Amy's done a fantastic accent for the last character, some beautiful Americanisms in there. But so should we, maybe be more dramatic or more melancholic?
You missed Primordia. That was just hamming it up, wasn't it, Chris?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Are we meant to ham it up this time?
Yeah. A lot of Primordia was me and Joel trying to ham it up the most.
Because I think it'd be something like, if you are the spirit of someone's anger, as an obvious example, you're going to be angry a lot. That's kind of your fang, as opposed to, you're probably not going to be a fully balanced, stable, well-rounded personality.
I can see that. Although I wonder if that might be a little exhausting to RP. For even like an hour-long set, if I had to be the personification of sad, that might be a little draining. I can definitely see something like the characters that people build for stuff like Fiasco, where they are heightened, incredibly flawed people, but can still do the range.
Yes.
Besides, I'm pretty sure Nathan is contractually banned from being sad for that long.
By contract with the universe.
Yeah.
It's stipulated that he'll be found in contempt of contract if he is sad that long.
I have a very distinct, I guess, broadcasting personality that if I no longer had it, I would lose all factors of originality of my performance, and I would lose my many followers. No, I'm kidding. I just want to be the psychosocial the pseudo. What's the term for it? The
parasocial.
Parasocial, thank you. Parasocial relationship that everybody craves. Is that so hard?
Okay,
if PewDiePie can do it, so can I. But yes, I do like the idea of being a hyper exaggerated, hyper flawed facet of humanity. That's fun.
I mean, all being parts of the same person can be fun, but it's hard to swing it in a particularly good way.
Maybe then instead of being internal acting out, it's like externals acting in, like how muses in Greek mythology have an influence on a person to inspire them to do things.
That could be interesting.
Oh, so if we like the chorus.
If we have dream access into people to make them do great and terrible things.
So yes, this is so far we seem to be making the love child of Inception and Persona. That's not a criticism. This is just me keeping track of where we are.
Some key pointers, yeah.
I mean, there has to be more media out there that handles Jungian psychology outside of Persona. I hope there is.
I mean, to be fair, it also could be like a sort of team-based mech anime.
Yeah.
Where just the mechs happen to be people.
Just like a more detailed version of the end of Evangelion.
Oh God, we're going to get crucified to a world tree, aren't we?
What a Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, other things that came up were like spies and some sort of like traitor sort of trust like thing. So, I'm thinking one would be we're going against like something major, but
I guess it depends whether you want the traitoring to be against each other, or do you want it to be PvP or PvE, this traitorship?
I would not like to do I think if we do like PvP, it's gonna take away from the surrealness.
Okay.
So I think it's gonna be hard to do that while also like taking into account these surreal laws, that kind of thing.
It becomes a bit too easy just to go, oh yeah, suddenly everything's made of knives. Whatever, yeah.
Okay. Is it about going undetected then, since spies are part of it, where we need to have our, I guess, metaphysical influence on a person, on humanity, on a person, and then it's being able to do that, but without people cottoning on that they're being puppeted by forces larger than they?
I'm thinking we're some kind of inquisition.
Okay.
We're like, let's flip this. Let's go, like, look at, like, say, as much as like the whole let's struggle and overthrow stuff is kind of fun. Being some sort of like dream inquisition, sort of upholding the surreal laws. It'd be, I think that could be really interesting, because especially if the laws are, absolutely obscure and unjust.
Kafka-esque.
Is anyone else here familiar with the, from what I hear, awful game, with the police faces? Hold on, I'll get this. We Happy Few.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Yeah, basically it's a world where apparently this one village during the war did something so awful. The only way they have to deal with it is to take happy pills, and when you get happy pills, it literally alters how you see the world, and it's all bright, vibrant colours, and a rat turns into a pinata. And basically, this is mandatory, and it's kept in force by these bobbies with painted faces. So in that scenario, it sort of sounds like we're taking on the role of the bobbies, where we've got this ridiculous society and we're keeping people trapped in.
I kind of think that sort of exploration could be really interesting.
Okay,
interesting and hard to do. I don't know whether I want to be a fascist.
Go on, you want the uniforms, Nathan.
Don't you effing dare.
The uniforms were designed by Hugo Boss, Nathan. Think how smart you'd look.
I am more of a Jean-Paul Gaultier myself.
Fair enough. But I think the most important, I know this is fluff, which is why I'm more mechanics, but I think we need a central absurd rule, so to speak. I mean, that can change from game to game, but I think at least each game needs a one. To make it, for clarity's sake, we need to know what we're trying to enforce and how it affects the world. If we have general surrealness, it might be a bit hard to keep track and also keep on a sort of a genuine tangent. But if we had a rule, as in, for example, to borrow the example of We Happy Few, everyone needs to take their happy pills, then that gives us a focus on what we're doing and allows us also, by having that structure, we can deviate from it while also being coherence.
Yeah. Let's say I was only throwing out the let's be the people doing the sort of reality inquisition. I mean, we don't have to take that route.
I think there is there's something to kind of explore in the if this is a space where dreams can be altered, and a couple of people want to kind of do things that could break that in a way that is, structurally unsound. Preventing that is probably relatively important. Or if this is the kind of like, muses influencing people to do great and terrible things. There's probably people who are influencing people to do terrible things that others might want to stop.
Yeah.
Kind of depends on obviously which end round you're coming at it from. Is inspiring people to do great things regardless of morality. At least that puts you somewhere you can easily spin it to either end without.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Core conceits too much.
Another option would be to do some sort of factionalization where you're all part of this faction, except you're all part of another faction as well. And so you have like one purpose, and then everyone has like a secondary purpose. you have to uphold A and also push B.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, that is definitely a thing, since we're already tapping a little bit into the kind of ethos behind Everybody's John. One of the things about that game is that in addition to everybody collectively trying to make John do things, you all have a minor and a major goal. Like, you get points. It's the kind of game that you tally that kind of thing, but you get points when you do your minor goal.
Yeah, when you act out your obsession.
And other people can pick up on that and work things into a way where you can't do that anymore, but then you're in opposition with each other.
That is a lot of the fun of that game, is trying to work out what someone else's thing is and
stopping them from doing it in a cheeky way. Yes, I agree.
Right. So the other one was A World That's Falling Apart, which has come up. So I don't know, like, part of me's thinking maybe like this dream world that's been built out of people's dreams, maybe it's not inherently stable. Maybe it really needs like some like law over it to make it stable.
Or
but it's like, who are the people who gets to make those laws then becomes the question.
Or it needs certain actions to be, because that will give a good driving impetus for whatever type of behavior you want to drive in the game. Of, this might seem a bit messed up, but if it doesn't happen, then the entire dream world dies. So get to it.
I do like the idea of like having things hanging over you that you've got to sort of complete. Like almost like expectations put on you by the world. And your actions that if you don't resolve, then you're in danger of breaking reality apart.
So you kind of have a dramatic role that you fulfill, kind of thing.
So it's a lot like think about like paradoxes in time travel games, where if you know that thing A happens, you have to ensure that it happens. Otherwise, you get some sort of backlash. That kind of thing. I'm wondering if that would be like a major mechanic.
So would these be self-described, or are you thinking more randomized, or you just make something up?
I'm thinking the laws have to be laid out.
That seems more entertaining rather than just you pick a quest and go with it.
You say that whoever stands upon this stone tablet will be cast down by the day's end. And then if someone stands on it, no matter what they're doing it for, they might gain some ability or some sort of impetus. But then if they have to be cast down,
you'd probably need to kind of compel that with, if no one stands on this stone by day's end, then
I don't know. I think
because otherwise it just becomes, unless it's a major Benny, otherwise it just becomes that sounds kind of bad, I'll just skip it.
Being subject to the laws having this expectation on you means that you're more intrinsically part of reality. That means you can do more stuff.
Actually, thinking about it, I'm surprised this has come in handy. I've been sort of, but not very well, doing the tweets about RPG Theory July. With somebody came up with 31 different talking about tabletop RPGs, and I have not managed to stick to that, doing one per day at all, and it doesn't really matter. But one of them was about Fate Play, which sounds like a kink, but is actually about how establishing a scenario that has to happen. And that made me think more about the classic 90s movie trope of an absurd thing happening and then a needle scratch being like, hey, that's me. You might wonder how I got into this situation. Well, and I'm like, that is actually a pretty good conceit of a game, especially if we're kind of leaning on serious surreality. If the game starts in a scene that is absolutely absurd,
that makes a promise.
How on earth could you even get into this absolutely effed up scenario? And then we can start the game somewhere mundane and work our way up to it. We've established that, a lot of dreams tend to start off relatively normal and then get absolutely like batshit. Why not actually bake that into the conceit of this game?
I personally, I think that's kind of more like an absurdity. I don't think that's not quite what I was thinking with Surreal But Serious, but I can see it working.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather like, because then we're kind of adding the surrealness ourselves. Like the situation doesn't inherently have it, and I like the idea that we've got like that we are in an inherently strange situation and we're dealing with it.
I guess I wonder whether that balances between the load of work that the GM has to do to make it surreal, when it feels like that's something that's prime material that could be put in the hands of the players.
Yeah,
it definitely sounds like it'd be easier to crowdsource that type of thing, even if it's just kind of the players each suggest 2 or 3 hooks or scenarios at the beginning, and then those come up during the game or get established at the beginning as, if this happens, then this happens, just so they're known about as established in-game facts as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. I know that for whatever reason for this game I've been humming on the role-playing aspect rather than mechanics, but I do think also that we will have to sell it as role players, and that this game, more than any other, that the other two that have been in, really does rely on us selling it with how we play it just as much as the mechanics.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is definitely narrative buy-in. I mean, you can bake in the surreality into the rules if you do it in a rather circumvented way. There is a 1-page RPG that I wrote and never released because it's actively stupid and nobody should play it.
I've never wanted to play anything more in my life.
I mean, I absolutely, I do kind of want to play it at one point, even though I know it will immediately break down. But the conceit of it is that everybody is a spellcaster. You have a hand of cards, like playing cards that you use to cast spells and whatever. But one thing that you can do is sacrifice part of your body to cast a grand spell, and that is represented by discarding cards from your hand permanently. But also, it means that the spell that you cast changes a rule of the game. And the game's rules are very, very simple, like almost on purpose. And you could have it so, like, my health is actually -1 and I'm in a permanent state of undeath if you want. And you could immediately escalate to rules that horribly break the game and make it mechanically unplayable. And that's entirely the point, but that's also why this game can't be played by anyone.
You say that, but there is the Spire RPG where one of the powers is to remove all copies of a given word from the book. Which I don't even want to think about what would happen if somebody removed the word like one.
Oh no, I love garbage like
what
that.
The hell?
But I know it's very polarizing.
It's very good at capturing a particular idea, but it's absolute garbage as an actual rule.
Yeah, it's
somewhat better for like a crazy one-pager thing than Spire, which is an actual
a big
book
boy
RPG.
It is a big boy of a book. But I mean, we've already been talking about the ideas of the absurd rules of the setting, and that could be fine, like narratively. But what if mechanically?
To be fair, could you have something like the rules where there's a few core rules that cannot change, and then at the beginning of the game you establish some kind of game/narrative flow rules, like everyone takes a turn left to right or whatever, but those ones can actually change during the course of the game as the dream changes or the dream state is in flux, something like that.
I mean, I'd personally rather have a sort of deck of rules and you kind of shift them in, like shift things in and out if we're gonna do that.
Roll table.
No,
roll 3d6.
It says deck
to combine a rule. Let's go.
They have index cards. So you just have a hand of index cards.
Yeah, kind of like Flux, to be honest, where it starts out with simple rules and then by the end it's draw a 17, play pi doubled, unless it's your birthday or whatever crazy stuff comes out.
I mean, we want to keep it simple, I think.
Oh god, yes.
But it become like the surreality of something like a gnomic like Flux is in the rules, but that's because it doesn't have anything else. That's because the rules are the point of it. Whereas in this, the rules are not the point of the game. The point of the game is that we are some sort of dream beings influencing a dream world and trying to catch a traitor, not we are playing a game where you change a bunch of rules. Unless we really, really wanted to go that way, which I could see working, but I do not know if it's going to work for this. I mean, work us doing it in like 2 hours and then playing for a few hours. I think if I had like 6 months to draft out a copy, then maybe.
So we have one of the things that we've not talked about that's on this list yet is a deck of cards, and there's a lot of information on decks of cards that can prime themselves for being altered in terms of what they do and the rules that they mean in a way that doesn't break the game horribly.
Yeah.
Stuff like, red suited cards have half the value. If you play a spade, you also have to play a clubs. And those are kind of rules that are easy enough to invent on the fly and can change the mechanics of the game, but the rules of the games can still stay the same.
Yeah, so my main the reason that I'm sort of hesitant on the whole let's rewrite the game mechanics as opposed to like these narrative conceits, which I think are separate to actual mechanical rules in my head. My main problem is that these things tend to get very, very silly. I've done a couple of them, and they can get
and we want to maintain surreal but serious. I understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out how I could keep it sensible, and I'm having trouble. Not to say they're bad ideas, because they're really not.
No, I understand what you mean, but by the same vein, being able to change narrative rules, but also be able to kind of keep that serious is also a level of player buy-in.
I mean, if you look at things like you could do them as like discovering rules or proclaiming or reminding people. There's a lot you can do in framing for that, but there's also like a narrative rule doesn't come into play until someone actually uses it. So like all people's old actions aren't necessarily bound by an old rule, I think, unless a player does something to make that happen. So if you say, whoever sits upon the throne, their head will turn into a hive of bees, then like that doesn't necessarily happen to the person that sat on the throne a while ago, or even the person that sat on the throne is sat on the throne now. That's what they didn't agree to that in order to do the thing. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I get what you mean. I guess another way that this could be now I'm thinking about rules and laws and things. I'm thinking about like Asimov's laws of robotics, which all Asimov stories about the laws of robotics are actually about how those laws don't work super great or have horrible flaws. And it feels like this might be the kind of game, especially if there's a level of like traitoring and trust, where there's three immutable laws that are set either in the game rules itself, like ink, or are established at start of play. And then there is a resource or some other similar thing where you can break a rule, but you permanently lose a thing, or you become more obvious that you're being deceitful or going outside of things.
I personally think that the idea is more that you buy into a rule rather than break it. So you gain like cards or whatever we're going to use. You gain some momentum by buying into a rule.
There's basically an incentive to go, yes, that binds me, I follow that thing, but you can just go, but then you don't get the goodies.
I mean, also, think about like some of the better player floor systems, when they only come up when they, matter.
You get XP when
you get XP or fate points or other bennies, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I'm going on that.
Okay.
That's always a better way of doing negative stuff because it means you actually have an incentive to screw yourself over.
And I'm a sucker for that whole exalted underworld, the like binding yourself to the laws is how you get your power kind of stuff. Because it's kind of like really dark but also really cool.
but then you end up being bound by like three mutually contradictory essences, and suddenly somebody works them out and it's like, yeah, shit, sorry. As everything falls apart and you die.
Yeah, I'm thinking like some sort of power and vulnerability thing. Like, if it's a social game, maybe like the more laws you bound yourself to, that easier it is to work out what the heck you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because you kind of have more certainty of what you actually are and what you're doing.
Well, you've opened yourself up. You know, you've I don't know how to explain it.
Well,
you've made this law part of yourself, so you can work out what this is now.
Has everyone here seen the final episode of Evangelion?
No.
Okay.
No.
There's something like that where it's basically described as it's an empty world, you can do anything, but there's no limits. And then there's a line, now there's horizon. You are limited because there is a ground, but there is something to physically interact with.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of thing where the more bound you are, the more kind of meat you have to actually work with, but there's also certain things that from that point on you can't do or that are very much against your nature.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then, buying into that, what is the traitor doing? If the traitor is an NPC or the environment itself, what is it doing to make us like care about binding ourselves to rules to do the thing?
I'm thinking that like it's not necessarily a traitor, but there's a trust mechanic. It's traitor or trust. So I'm wondering that maybe the sort of trust thing is that you have to trust that people will actually pay back these things that they've set up, however bad it is for them. Because if you don't, then things start going south. I don't know.
I guess if this is people affecting the dreams of an NPC person, so we are all otherworldly beings in the dream of Alice, which is actually relatively appropriate considering the theming of this. And we want Alice to do something. We need Alice to go and go through the red door because we know that that's the thing that's important for this dream. And she's like, I don't trust you. So we have to bind ourselves to rules or do things that Alice wants to build up the trust resource to make her to suggest that to her to do the thing. And you know, because we're all powerful beings, we could probably make her do the thing, but that would cost a lot of trust.
Yeah. Oh, I like the idea that we're some sort of guides.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're someone's guides through some weird world.
Okay. Yeah, and you have to try and.
No, I think that makes sense. That definitely buys in more to the Wonderland style of dreams, where there is a central character and everybody else are, you know, fragments of real world things that she's transplanted onto animals and objects.
And like if they stop trusting us, we are in trouble.
Yeah, it's the structure of this world that we're in is kind of reliant on the person that we're guiding around believing it's real and worth doing. So it's trust a cumulative resource. It's a pooled resource. But if it hits zero for whatever reason, we lose. But we have to also spend it to get big things done.
Yeah, or we have to take debts on it basically. And we can pay it off by either losing trust from them because we haven't paid it back yet, or by doing the thing that it was set up that we have to do.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely that factors in quite well to cards as a resulting system because they work really well for buy-ins and gambles of plays, which is why, you know, poker's the thing. We're anteing up the trust to make a play, and if it doesn't pan out, then we lose the trust and it becomes narratively complicated. Sure, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that kind of builds in a good narrative plot.
I am always a sucker for when the mechanics actually have a thing to do with the narrative of the game. Separate.
Does help.
Maggie, any thoughts?
Yeah, sounds good. No.
So we are some sort of spirit guides. We are guiding someone. We'll work out like exactly what that is soon. But like, so we're trying to guide someone. but it's imperative. Like, if they don't do what we're after, like, well, we'll go with generic bad stuff's gonna happen for now. But like, we're trying. Like, but if they stop trusting us, then like the enemy who are trying exactly the same thing are gonna win. Does that sound?
Yeah, because okay, so let's go with the Alice example again.
Yeah,
and Alice has a big life decision that she needs to make. It could be something mundane, like what major she takes to university, and she's kind of like tossing and turning about it. She falls asleep, and a whole bunch of different, psychic beings all want her to. The public goal is get Alice to commit to taking a university degree. Everybody's secret goal is specifically what degree that she's doing, which is a very mundane example, I know, but this could be, I don't know, presidential decisions or confessing to the boy he likes. It could be all sorts of mundane but important real world things blown up to absurd dreamlike proportions with lots of different people wanting to push for different things. And if none of us get what we want, then the devil on the shoulder, metaphorically or literally, takes the bad choice, TM, instead, and we're all sad.
A thought. Do you think that we should like say what these things are, like you say about the university course, or should it be symbolic, and then we work out what the symbolism is for later? Because I think that's a really nice surrealist technique. We take something inherently without meaning and ascribe meaning to it.
I guess we can, although that is relying on everybody to be on the same wavelength about what the decision to be taken is. If there's a secret goal, that needs to be relatively well defined. Otherwise, you're going to struggle really hard in acting on that. You're just making random actions.
I think though, like concrete actions in this abstract world, all the goals should be a concrete action in an abstract world. What that means in the non-abstract world, we can kind of just like keep hinting at and kind of like work out in play, I think.
Okay, sure. So in the confessing to the boy example, my secret goal could be take the big sword and plunge it through the king's chest, and that might be break up with him in real life. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I guess that means that the public goal has to be something relatively common sense, so you can make an abstract secret goal.
So I've got an idea that like we sometimes like we'll have phase, like I like the idea of having like in character phases where we are these characters and we are like working through this story, and then also having like phases where we're not in character and we have like 5 minutes and we actually like just talk about what these things mean. I kind of like that as a conceit. It's like the sort of like session 0 type stuff, but like spread throughout the game.
All right, I can see that. I guess if the main character of this story, because we're not the main characters, we're just forces in their bizarre dreamscape. But if the main character is sleeping, then I guess the real world decides of the characters that are.
It maybe inspired them or something.
So we would have a cutaway scene of the boy that might be confessed to or literally stabbed through the heart, who knows, doing something else, having that kind of fiasco style freeform roleplay about the scene that's going on elsewhere, and then that can inform the stuff that's in the dream. Excuse me.
I do like that. I really like that idea. Like, so basically you get chances to frame a scene outside.
Because then it gives everybody else at the table an impression of where you think stuff is going, because then you can actually springboard off that, as opposed to everybody like guessing in the dark. But yeah,
it does help to actually try and establish what the hell is going on, so someone massively worlds apart from everyone else.
Because I'm more than happy to make up surreal metaphors for a real world thing, but I'd want it to be, playing on the other chance that something else might be doing something. So if Maggie had a particular goal that they're trying to get the real world to do. So what is Maggie, what would Alice be you'd want Alice to do in the real world as a hypothetical example? Anything?
Oh, she's going to propose to her girlfriend.
Okay, excellent. So my dream person is kind of like, well, I want Alice to actually go and steal this girlfriend's wallet and drive off to Las Vegas. And that is a related goal to your goal, but also prevents you from your goal from going through, which is the level of kind of like interpersonal sabotage. Like, we all need to work together to get Alice to listen to any of us.
Yeah.
Because we have that shared resource pool. But the actual end result is the thing that we're being selfish about.
So one thing that, if we're not using the values on the cards much, the one thing that we could have is there is an amount of trust in the pile, and some of it is face up to say that we've made good on it, and some of it's face down to say we haven't made good on it.
I like gambits being made face up and face down. That makes sense. I guess you can. I'm now thinking of how to do this mechanically.
Yeah.
If the trust pool is face up cards, and you can spend that to play the card that you can see, and that's great and nice and easy to do. But also you're kind of locked into what that top card is. Or you can use face down cards. That is like a bigger deck. It's much larger. But also, that's an uncertain deal.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I like the idea of being able to play face up and face down cards. Or I don't know, being able to rely on what's in other people's hands. If we want people to work together, I guess there's a degree of, is this even a game where players have hands of cards?
I'm thinking so, but
okay.
Some of them are face up, some of them are face down. You just see what other people see.
So
you don't know what some of your cards are. They could be good, they could be bad. It's like, I'm thinking when you tie yourself into a rule, you can flip one over.
Sure.
That'd be a good concrete benefit of doing it, yeah.
The conceit being that you can play any card that you can see. So you can see the cards in your own hand, obviously, but you can also only see the face-up cards of other people's hands.
I was thinking you can't see the cards in your own hand until you flip them.
Oh.
So it's an open information game.
Oh, I see.
Well, some things are closed to everybody, if that makes sense.
Is it like Hanabi where other people can see your hand, or is it?
I don't think so. I think
face down cards and less flip.
That's just too complicated, personally.
It makes things a bit weird, yeah.
I would argue that if you can't even see what's in your own hand, then it's almost easier just to have a grid of face down cards which you flip, because then ownership doesn't really matter unless there's something about having a card from your own hand that's special.
You personally take the risk, though, right? So I think if you do the things that mean you get to look at your cards, you've then got less cards until you pay off the debt effectively. It gives you less to work with, but people can know if you've got them in a pinch or whatever.
Okay, so you have a hand of cards, but you can't see. They're essentially locked until you bind yourself to a request from Alice. And
not for a request from Alice. You bind yourself to a rule of the world.
Sure. You bind yourself to a rule of the world, and you can flip up a card. So,
And if we're doing a game where you're looking for runs and straights and stuff, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. What happens if you flip a card up and it's Garbo?
Hey, it might not be later because straights, runs, flushes.
Yes, I mean, if it's so, the straights, runs, and flushes are table wide or your own hand.
I mean, with whatever, I think it's with whatever you're doing, or whatever Alice is trying to do, or I don't know. I'm not entirely sure yet, but
I usually one of the things that's quite there's usually two types of. I've played a handful of RPGs that involve cards instead of dice because it's the thing I quite like. And there's usually two styles, right? There is switching out cards in your hand until you have something favorable that you can then do a thing with, or you have to use all the cards in your hand until you run out, regardless of how garbage they are, and then you get new ones. But either way, there's circumstances where the cards in your hand are changing. even if it's like and it feels like it would be a reward. The reward for binding yourself to all these kind of rules, in addition to being able to see your hand, would probably be some form of hand control, swapping cards with other people, or from the trust deck or something.
Yeah, from the done trust pool.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, I'm thinking kind of meta anyway. I could, for example, if this is a team game where we're working towards the same goal, I could just take on 5 rules and entirely lock myself out from doing anything, but then everybody else can use my hand instead, and that would be mechanically sensible and also boring.
I'm thinking I do agree with you there. I'm just trying to kind of think of a way we can make that work. Right, I think what we really need to do is, because we haven't really yet, is work out exactly what the tagline is.
Mm-hmm.
So, with some sort of dream guides, how are we gonna call them? Like muses of dreams, dream spirits, something like that. Maggie, any ideas?
What's the word for dream self? Because we could make a play on the what's it, Pinocchio? They say let your conscience be your guide.
Yeah.
Do that, but let your blah, blah, be your guide.
So
that sort of so just a working title, and this is just to be replaced. Let your dream Sona be your guide. You see what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing that gets to jumps into my head is Eidolon.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there is a specific word for this, that's psychopomp, but that is specifically
for the dead.
So it does the whole. It does exactly this, but it's only for people who are dying, which I guess is a level of seriousness, but maybe locks in the potential things this game could be about.
Yeah,
I guess if you want to go full kind of like Kieran Gillen level morbid, it's like, yes, this is the final dream that somebody has before they die, and this is you kind of suggesting what they do with their last day on Earth, as it will, which is delightfully fatal for some people.
Yeah, set their mentality to rights before they pass on.
Mm-hmm.
That would
be something that ties its theme of last rites. That would be.
I'd rather not. I think.
No, I think.
I'm bringing that up as a thing that's doable, but not necessarily something I personally would enjoy.
Well, something there's a really good word for, but sadly, not quite the right thing for this. Just trying to think
You'll talk amongst yourselves while I look on Wikipedia for alternate.
There's Phantasm as well, which almost kind of does it.
There's got to be,
because that has some nice fantasy kind of things in there. It's like, kind of, I think kind of fits in. But I mean, I think Eidolon's the closest one I think of.
Yeah, just trying to think of anything else. There's got to be some.
It's a shame the big friendly giant is already taken.
He'd know. Right.
Oh, they're just called spirit guides or dream guides. It's not fancy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's been decades of New Ages. How come they not made up?
Or if this was, if this was an 80s cartoon, we'd be calling them Jungian Defenders.
Mm-hmm. That definitely sounds like they have a giant.
Oh, okay. Here we go. This is maybe interesting. A neuromancy is a form of divination based upon dreams, which is pretty literally the thing that's going on here, just from the inside rather than the outside.
Problem with neuromancy is it just makes everyone think of cyberpunk.
Neuromancy. Oneir.
Neuromancy. Yeah. Neros. Greek god of dreams.
What about? Isn't that what's it? Dream a Dream. Well, that's that song of Les Mis. We could name it after that.
Don't let dreams just be dreams.
Don't do that to us. Why would you do that?
I had to.
I mean, to be fair, there's the Nairoi with the primordial deities that had children of the Titans. So the Onoroi, some of the Onoroi were Morpheus, Phobator, and Phantasos, the people that brought dreams. So that's if we want to go that way.
Or actually, no, I'm not sure if this would be too much, but something that came to head was Morpheons. Like from Morpheus.
Yeah.
Hypnopomps are actually a thing, or it's a term that exists, but it's about the state of consciousness leading out of sleep. Which, how many people are going to look that up? We could get away with describing our characters as hypnopomps as bit of a portmanteau of the things involved that those two are, but
I was wondering if there was an aeropomp, but apparently that's only in the first result for that is the White Wolf fandom wiki.
That's unsurprising.
Because of course it is, yes.
That is very unsurprising.
Or I don't know, maybe this is too cheesy, but Dream Scouts.
Oh, that's cute. I mean, I would definitely be a Dream Scout if this was kind of like Magical Girl style high school everyday dramas that are being resolved in dreams, which I think would be absolutely adorable and I would love to play, but it's probably not quite serious enough for what Dave is thinking.
I can do Dream Scouts.
Because that sets a tone, specifically Dream Scouts.
It does set a tone.
But I like it. I'm just saying it sets a very specific scope for what this game could be.
To be fair, if we want to keep it more light-hearted, it does work well.
To be fair, it also means that you can be serious and you can have a serious game that does stuff in a serious way and doesn't get silly while it's still being a bit lighthearted.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I didn't mean dead grim. I meant just not silly wacky action. You know?
It does just kind of pitch, because if you went for Oneiropomp or Hypnopomp, that's kind of getting a bit more pseudo philosophical type, as opposed to this sounds more a bit fun adventuring.
However, if we're Dream Scouts, that does really sound like we're normal people who have done some sort of dream access to get in here and resolve
dream access
problems.
Alternative suggestion: Dreamquisition.
that sounds.
I think it's utterly genius, but completely not where we were going.
I'm not being helpful. I'm coming up with ideas for all the good ideas for everything but our game.
Dreamquisition sounds a bit more mean and hard.
I've somehow managed to be the exact opposite of helpful. Not unhelpful, the opposite of helpful.
Just kick down the door and it's like, you're having dreams in here, huh? Okay. Dream Scouts, into it. This is
Dream Scouts.
The winter 2019 anime season on Crunchyroll that everybody needs to watch.
I mean, is it gonna be one of those ones where it's just something really bizarre, just played completely straight?
Yeah.
Oh, and animated by Hamish Steele. Yeah, if anyone does, for people who don't know, he did Dead Endia and Pantheon.
Yes. Dead India is very much of a style, and I think, hey, this is a pretty Hamish thing. Rob's Wetsuits, and I can't remember the name of the artist, but Starbright also fits into that. I'm now thinking of a whole bunch of indie comic artists and writers who could basically do this, and it would be great.
I mean, it's not where I'd go on it, but
I don't know. I like magical girl shit.
I do as well.
And everybody's people are aware of Madoka Magica and Magical Girls Raising Project. You can have that aesthetic and it be grim if you wanted it to be. But
I'm not thinking grim. I'm just thinking
serious. Yes, I get
serious. Yeah, like stuff can be serious without being overwhelmingly dark. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean, for teenagers, there's all sorts of pretty major stakes that, in the grand scheme of things, aren't that important, but to them, yeah.
For example, if you want to look at Teen Titans show, there's Teen Titans Go on one end of the spectrum, Titans on the other, and then the first Teen Titans show sort of sits comfortably between the two. They're not going out for pizza at the same time. Robin's not swearing about Batman to random street muggers,
Titans. Yes, that show was a hot garbage fire.
So I do like Starfire in it. Thought she was kind of cool.
It had really good stuff in, combined with really bad stuff.
Which I guess levels out to mediocre in the grand scheme of things.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right, so a troop of Greek. We've got to be a troop if we're Dream Scouts.
Yes.
A troop of Dream Scouts. I'm gonna veto the talking animal mascot.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's nothing stopping us becoming like talking animal mascots in the dream anyway.
Very true.
Oh, one thing. If we're a troop, should there be a leader? And would that be decided by the game mechanics?
I think we decide.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, right? This is how we do the sort of out of dream stuff as well. So we I think there should be like a rule on just very short out of dream scenes.
It's
gotta be quick.
Is this kind of like if we're Dream Scouts that exist outside of, do we exist out of the dream space or not? Because if we do, then we could be, classmates to the person that is. Okay, good. Yeah.
Are you sold on that?
Yeah. There is a video game about this, but it's fine.
Fine, right?
No. I'm saying that's good. I'm saying there's precedent for this being a dope idea.
Yeah, let's do it. I really like it.
All right.
It was one of those ones where I'm like, it sounds a bit too. I'm sure I've seen this anime somewhere, and or I'm sure I've read a manga like this. It seems a little too obvious, but sometimes the obvious is exactly what you need.
Well, it's the piece of genre fiction that somebody who's looking for that will find, because every so often I see on Reddit r/RPG, it's like I want a tabletop RPG where I can do shonen battle anime like Naruto, and everybody's like, I don't know if there's something like that exists. And for a while, people were asking for this kind of fluffy magical girl-esque stuff, and there's some stuff that exists. Not that much though, and definitely not this specific genre. So
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so do we have our tagline? So, Dream Scouts attempt to solve someone's personal dilemmas or help them defeat their inner demons.
Yeah. I guess it's Dream Scouts solve the high school drama of their friends or something.
Yeah, help their friends deal with the difficult choices in their lives.
Mm-hmm. And if there are any listeners out there who are into music, we're not telling you to compose us an anime theme, but we wouldn't object.
Yeah, no, I'm
just saying, audience participation. If you want to give us an anime style high school theme song for this, that would be cool.
That's better than our own attempts.
I am playing many different ones in my head right now.
I like the idea that it's the difficult. It's help them make the decision. There's not necessarily a particular choice.
Yeah, you don't solve it for them. You just prompt them to
actually take some sort of plunge.
Yeah.
A bit Black Rock shootery, but
a
bit less weird.
Like I said, there's precedent, and that's entirely okay.
So are people cool with that tagline?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, then we'll be back after the break. Bye.
Bye.
Jenna.